Hello, ghosties. I'm Chance Lee.
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
And this is That's So Mia Goth-ic, a movie podcast about Mia Goth, guys, and haunted houses. And today we're talking about one of Mia Goth's movies in which she's in a bathtub full of eels. It's a cure for wellness.
There is a sickness inside us, rising like the bile that leaves that bitter taste at the back of our throats. It's there in every one of you seated around the table. Only when we know what ails us can we hope to find the cure.
What do you make of that?
Clearly he's lost his mind.
Our thoughts exactly.
I'd like you to go to Switzerland and bring Mr. Pembroke back to us.
What we offer here is a process of purification, away from the pressures of the modern world.
You plan to take Mr. Pembroke back with you.
Is that a problem?
He's a patient, not a prisoner.
You here for the cure?
No. Actually, I was just leaving.
No one ever leaves.
Welcome back, Mr. Lockhart.
Signs of concussion.
Depleted immune system. I would like to recommend a treatment. Think of it as a cleansing of the mind, as much as the body. Some patients experience visions. But rest assured, it's just the toxins leaving the system.
There is a terrible darkness here.
That was 200 years ago.
This is happening now. You said no one ever leaves. What happens to them? I saw the bodies!
Listen to yourself. You're not a well man.
You're trying to make me think I'm insane.
What's happening to me?
It's all part of the cure.
There is no cure!
Accept the diagnosis, and you will see. It's wonderful here.
Breathe in. Breathe out. Imagine yourself in a neutral state. You feel a cool wetness at your feet. Water. A bubbling stream.
Released in 2017, A Cure for Wellness was directed by Gore Verbinski and written by Justin Hayth. It stars Dane DeHaan as Lockhart, a financial executive, Jason Isaacs as Heinrich Vollmer / Baron von Reichmerl, the head doctor of a Swiss spa, and Mia Goth as Hannah. We'll talk about her a bit. And this is the story of a Swiss health spa's hellish secrets. So this movie was a box office flop. It made only $26.6 million against a $40 million production budget.
Yeah.
And the rare movie in which critics and audiences agree, it has a 42% tomato for both.
Wow, what an achievement.
I know. And Matt Zoller Sites for RogerEbert.com gave it 2 stars.
Wow.
But he had a lot of positive things to say about it in the review, sort of. He said, as a fetish object, it's impressive. But as a fully satisfying feature-length drama, it's a bust.
Huh. I get that. Okay.
It is a long movie.
Yeah.
It's over 2 hours long, right? It's like 2.5, 240.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Gore Verbinski did all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and those are also ungodly long.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I was gonna say, this is, when was this movie released? 2017?
This was 2017.
Yeah. So this was, I feel like now we're really at the precipice of like long ass movies. Like Oppenheimer just
Mhm.
won Best Picture, and that was 4 days long or however long it is.
Yes, too long.
Too long. So I mean, I feel like this was a time where long movies were maybe not. I still don't think they're acceptable, especially not in my personal opinion. But 2.5 hours, you really felt that. I feel like back then.
Yeah, I'm looking at the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie is almost
Mhm.
3 hours
Are you
long.
kidding me?
169 minutes.
Where do they get off?
I know. And that was the last one he directed. So he directed that in 2007.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
yeah. And then
2007?
the two after that, because there were 5 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. The two
Yeah.
after that were only 2 hours. All of his were over 2.5 hours. So
Oh
he's
my
a
God.
long-winded film director.
Apparently. How long was The Lone Ranger?
Did he do that? I
Yeah,
just
he's
skimmed right over that. Oh my
yep,
gosh, he did. So he did that before this one, the one with
yep.
Cannibal Ken and
Yes.
Johnny Depp.
And because I think he also did Rango, which is like, in my mind, the animated version of that movie.
And people like Rango, but I haven't
Oh,
seen it.
really? Yeah.
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 Lone Ranger is also 2.5 hours long.
Oh my God. We don't need it.
Rango appears to be his shortest movie.
Wow. He really wrangled that in.
Actually, no. So his shortest movie was his first movie, which was Mouse Hunt with Nathan Lane.
Oh my God. I forgot about that movie.
I've never seen it.
Oh, I completely forgot about that movie. That was a cute movie. I need to rewatch that.
That was his directorial debut.
Wow. I always used to I remember vividly. I was at the video store with my brother and we weren't going to get it because it wasn't our type of movie. He was holding it. It wasn't his type of movie anyways, but he was holding Rat Race and
Mm.
I confused that mouse movie with Rat Race. And so I
Mhm.
was like, I love that movie. It's so cute. And then realizing later in my life what Rat Race was about, and it's a much more adult movie. Not even much more, but more than a Nathan Lane critter caper.
Yes, for sure. Yes. I liked
Anyways,
Rat Race as a side note. I enjoyed that movie.
I don't think I've ever actually watched it.
I thought it was so funny when I saw it. I don't know what
Yeah.
come loose in my mind when I was
Isn't
watching
there
it, but
someone
it
in
was
a
the funniest thing I'd seen.
is there someone in a bubble at one point?
Probably there's so
Okay.
much that happens in that movie. Like a girl has to poop out the side window of a car, and then Whoopi Goldberg drives over a cliff because Kathy Bates is selling squirrel meat, and Whoopi Goldberg won't buy any. So when Kathy Bates gives her directions, she sends her off a cliff. See, it is funny. You haven't even seen it.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to watch this.
John Lovitz somehow ends up looking like Hitler and crashing through the side of the Holocaust Museum, I think, and like yelling.
All right, next. That's so Gothic. Let's talk about Rat Race.
Rat Race. Mr. Bean is in it. He's doing Mr.
Oh,
Bean things.
yeah.
Yeah. One thing I like, we're already way off topic talking about Rat Race, but there's a lot of scenes where so these rich people are betting on who can win this like race across the
Right.
country. But while they're waiting for interesting things to happen, they're holding all these side bets in the hotel,
Yeah.
like trying to see how long the maids can hold on to the curtain rods, and they're like betting on which ones they think will fall off last. Oh, maybe I should rewatch it.
Yeah, they just don't make movies like they used to.
It's very zany and a lot of fun, if I remember correctly. And it might end with them all showing up at a Smash Mouth concert.
That sounds right. Like I
Because that
might have seen this movie once, and that is something I feel like
Yeah,
I re-
like that and
oh,
Shrek were right around the same time, and Smash
I
Mouth was a big deal.
I'm not gonna get us too much more off the topic, but I think I also used to get Rat Race mixed up with Euro Trip. Do you remember Euro
Okay,
Trip? Yeah.
Euro Trip. Yep,
I think that one might also end in some sort of musical montage concert thing.
probably.
Anyways, okay.
Well, I don't know who I thought Gore Verbinski was. I think
Yeah.
I was maybe getting him confused with Joel Schumacher,
Mm,
who was much older, and I had nothing to do with Pirates of the Caribbean, so I have no idea why.
yeah.
But he's pretty Gore Verbinski's pretty young. He's only
Hmm.
59 today.
Oh,
Um and I'm like, but I was like, what a weird name, Gore. I think
sure.
he also kind of looks like Paul Verhoeven in my head. Gore Verbinski,
Mm,
Paul Verhoeven. Like they
yeah.
just seem like the same person. But Gore seems to be short for Gregor. Do you want to guess where Gregor Verbinski is from?
It's gotta be like Russia, right?
I'm going to give you a hint. His middle name is Justin.
Is he from California?
He's from Tennessee. I could not believe
Gregor.
that.
I love that he went for Gore instead of Greg.
Right? I was like, what is it? Gordon? Like, what could Gore be short for? And it's
Yeah.
Gregor.
Imagine if he went for Ego instead.
Ooh, yeah.
That would have been a good one. Ego
Yeah.
Verbinski.
Yeah. He had so many options, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's an interesting director for sure. He hit it big. He did The Ring
Yes.
prior to Pirates of the Caribbean. He also, I didn't realize until looking him up, he did The Mexican with Brad Pitt and Julia
Oh.
Roberts, and your favorite Italian, James Gandolfini.
Oh my god. I haven't watched that movie in a long that is one of the few movies I remember my dad owning on DVD and watching at some random point in my life, but I haven't watched that in so long. I need to revisit it as my Italian man.
I remember it being critically panned, but I
Really?
liked it.
Yeah. That's so weird because I feel like well maybe my dad bought it out of the bargain bin. I could see that happening.
I feel like it was a very quick trip to the bargain bin for that
Yeah,
movie.
like that Walmart bin.
Yeah.
When
Oh,
I
yeah. The one
yeah,
that had no rhyme or reason to it. You just
no.
dug through it like with a shovel.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that's where it came from.
I was reading in his Wikipedia page about his career, and at one point he was set to direct a film that was based on the video game BioShock. You
Oh.
familiar with that game?
Only like the aesthetics of it.
Yeah, it kind of similar in certain ways, I feel like, to this movie, A Cure for
Yeah.
Wellness. But this line I found interesting. Budgetary and creative disputes stemming from Verbinski's wish to incorporate a functioning underwater rail transport system, comma, driven by his noted fascination with trains.
Oh.
A derailed development. I don't know
Ah.
if that was meant intentional there,
Yeah.
but his noted fascination with trains.
Oh my god. When you started saying driven by, I thought you were going to say by himself. Like
By
I thought
Johnny
you were
Depp.
getting at he wanted to be the conductor. And I was like,
He
oh
probably
wait,
would.
he
He
probably
probably
would.
would.
Choo choo. Oh my god, let the man do it. That sounds
That's so
incredible.
fascinating. I know, but there's a lot of trains in this movie, which made me
There
be like,
are.
"Oh, he's like getting that out of his system."
Yeah, he loves trains. He's just a boy from Tennessee who loves his trains.
Who loves trains and
Yeah,
pirates?
he's on that midnight train to Georgia.
To Georgia, and it's
To
not that
Georgia.
far because he's from
Yeah,
Tennessee. I thought he was
exactly.
European
I know, me too. I can't believe
because all
he's
these
not.
he's always working with like Keira Knightley, Orlando
Yeah,
Bloom.
right.
I just said someone else that's
Yes.
British, but
Yeah,
Jeffrey, what's his name? Jeffrey Rush is in the Pirates movies. Like they're all
right.
British.
Yeah, that
And
is so.
everybody in this movie is British. I don't know what Dane
Yeah,
DeHaan is, but he's like an American in Europe.
yeah. That is so wild.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there, that's Gore. We also have Dane DeHaan, who
Yep.
I've seen him in a couple things, but
Yeah, I mean, I think I mostly knew him from Spider-Man. He was he was the kid. I don't know.
he was
I haven't
James
seen.
Franco's character. Like James Franco was that character in the Tobey Maguire
Yeah,
ones.
that's right. That's right.
I never saw those Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans.
I think I only saw them in theaters, so I don't remember them very well. Um, and then I haven't seen it, but I really wanted to. I know he's in Kill Your Darlings with Daniel Radcliffe,
Okay.
and that's about a famous writer whose name I can't remember right now.
It's the poet, right? It's
Yeah.
Whitman? Whitman?
Yeah.
Walt Whitman?
Walt Whitman. It might be. It might be. Dane DeHaan. But yeah, I don't he's just always he's one of those, people talk about right now we're in like this like weird guy renaissance. Like you have like the Timothy Chalamets and the and I feel like Dane DeHaan just fits very well in that. And so I think he needs to have a big comeback.
Yeah, he never really seemed to have hit it.
Yeah. Like I feel like he was always kind of like close, and then I don't know, he just like never blew up. Is he like in a TV show or something I'm missing? Like what has he been up to?
I had to look him up because I'm like, did he just disappear? Side note, I was way off base. Kill Your Darlings is about Allen Ginsberg.
That's right.
And Jack Kerouac.
Ah.
And then Dane DeHaan, he has done TV.
Okay.
He was in a couple miniseries. He was in The Staircase.
Oh. I didn't watch that because it's based on a true story, right? And I couldn't finish that documentary.
Yeah, like someone gets pushed down the stairs, like a husband, and then they think the wife did it, or vice versa.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I forget who pushed who. And then he's in Oppenheimer with everybody else.
Ugh.
And he's in Dumb Money, which is the GameStop.
Oh.
The Game Stocks movie.
Yeah. Did that come out?
I don't know if it went straight to DVD or what, but it is on DVD.
Yeah. Oh, and he was in Chronicle, which I saw a long time ago, but I remember liking. It's like a found footage. Not like it's more action. It's like, I don't know, people get random superpowers, but it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, but I really like Dane DeHaan. I think he's a weird looking dude. He has this like very weirdly deep voice, like you don't expect it. He just like starts talking and he sounds like he looks so young, and he talks and he's just like, are you kidding me? Like he's just so deep.
It's true. I find him
doesn't match.
I find his character is intensely unlikable in this movie, but I don't know. I find him very watchable.
Yes. Yeah. I just like, I don't know. He's kind of like, he's like the opposite side of the Alden. Literally just said his name a little while ago. Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich. Yeah. He's like the opposite side of the coin. Like they're both charismatic, but like Alden is like this like golden retriever puppy charismatic, and Dane DeHaan is like this like scary cat, but you can't help but want to hang out with it.
Yeah, he's a little mangy.
Yeah, he's a little mangy. He's got like these really intense eyes, and he has these beautiful, like this is not disparaging at all, like these beautiful eye bags under them.
He does. Yes.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yes.
Very interesting hairline. Very interesting. Yeah, I just really like him.
His performance in this movie is also very, very physical.
Yes.
He's on crutches for like 2 hours of this movie.
Yeah. His crutches are so funny. They're so squeaky.
They are really squeaky.
There's so many scenes where he's trying to be quiet and they're so squeaky. I love it so much.
Yeah, he's always limping around.
Yeah.
His character really gets put through the ringer. He loses a tooth at one
Yeah.
point.
Which, I don't know if you were going to talk about the tooth scene, but I'll say it now. I was
Oh,
reading that
yes.
that is practical effects. I mean, obviously they
Yes.
didn't drill his tooth, but they had him strapped up with the things in his mouth. I mean,
Yeah.
he had to do a lot for this.
Yes. Yeah, I read they used a rubber drill, but he was still afraid that it was going to damage his tooth because they were
Yes.
drilling into like a coating on his real tooth. That
Yeah.
scene is nuts.
Oh, and then like I don't know if there's like I don't know how much of it is real, but I think a lot of it is like there's a lot of water scenes where he's submerged, like
He drowns at one point, and it's so realistic looking the
yeah,
way he kind of twitches for his last breaths. It's
yes,
nuts.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's Gore really gave it to him and
He really did. He had to do
yeah,
a lot.
yeah, he
And
did.
he's in almost every scene of this movie as well.
Yeah. You really don't get like anyone else's perspective. Like it's
Mm-mm.
just through him.
Yeah. We also have as the villain is Jason Isaacs
Mhm.
as the Heinrich Vollmer,
Mhm.
who we will find was the Baron von Reichmerl.
Yeah.
And
Very evil.
typing these out, I realized that von Reichmel is an anagram of Heinrich Vollmer,
That's hilarious.
which is so like second grade script
So
writing.
silly. There's so many like silly little like things in this movie. I feel like they were trying to be deep and I mean, I love this like I'll just start off like I love this movie, but there are so many things in this movie where I'm like this was trying to be so much smarter than it had any right being.
Yes.
Yeah, but that is
Yeah.
very funny. I will say
I
I didn't notice that, so
I have to
good
wonder
on
if there's a
you.
scene on the cutting room floor where he like
Yeah,
pieces because there's the woman who has her crossword puzzle,
puzzles.
like, and if he like pieces together the name and it's like, oh, like
Honestly, I bet there is because
there
there's kind
has
of
to
like an
be.
unfinished storyline with it where he is looking at the pieces. I 100% think there has to be.
That's so funny. And
Yeah.
the woman who does the crossword puzzle, she played Bridget Jones's mom in the Bridget Jones movies.
Okay. Yeah.
So, honorable mention to her.
Yeah.
And then the costume designer for this movie is Jenny Beavan.
Mm.
She did Cruella.
Oh, I haven't seen Cruella, but I know that the costumes are like a huge deal and very impressive in it.
Yeah, the costumes are great. This movie is just more practical. There's no real
Yeah.
showstopper of a costume, but I was going back and looking at her career, and she did like Victorian period movies
Hmm.
in the 90s. She did the costumes for Howard's End and the Jane Eyre with Charlotte Gainsbourg that we mentioned.
Oh, interesting.
And she's done more wild modern stuff lately. She did Mad Max Fury Road. I can't remember if she's
Mm.
doing the new Anya Taylor-Joy one or not.
Yeah.
And she won an Oscar, I think, for Cruella, which
Oh,
well deserved.
yeah,
And if
good for
not, they should have given it to her. I didn't fact
yeah.
check that. But and then last but not least, we have Mia Goth. Mia Goth, my
Yes.
queen, my
Yes.
president.
Of course.
This is the first movie I saw Mia Goth in.
Really?
Well, so I know she was in Nymphomaniac,
Right.
and I have seen that, but I will just say I don't remember her in that movie, and that may or may not be any fault of her own. Just there are
Mm.
many memorable scenes in Nymphomaniac parts 1 and 2, and
Yeah.
she is not in those.
Mm.
So this is the first movie where this is the first movie where I took notice of Mia Goth.
Yes. Yeah. She's wonderful, of course. She also is part of the like kind of again, not in a mean way, but kind of weird looking group of people, but who are just like
Mhm.
so captivating.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think she's electric, and she can play someone who has seen it all,
Hmm.
and she can play someone who has never left her house.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like she has that range that really comes in handy in this movie.
Right. Yeah. She's incredible. She's really good in this. She has some, I feel like, poor Dane DeHaan is like put through like a physical ringer, but poor Mia Goth, like she's put in, again, I don't know how much of it is real, but like some like gross scenes with her in the bathtub, gross scenes at the end that I'm sure we'll get to with some sexual advances. So I don't know who I would want to be more or less of in this filming process.
Yeah, I always forget just how gross the end of this
Yeah.
movie is, but we'll definitely get to that.
It's icky. It's icky.
And so I'm looking, so she says that they added in the eels with CGI, so at least she didn't have to be in the
I was gonna
tub
say
with the eels.
there's no way that all of them were real. I wasn't sure if they did some sort of like tricky, I don't know, but good. I'm glad she wasn't. But she still had to be naked in the tub. That sucks.
Yes. And her quote is so bizarre for this. So they they asked her on a Screen Rant interview about this, and she said she had to stay in a very awkward position and couldn't move or scratch her nose. So she had a Coca-Cola with a straw and watched Good Will Hunting.
She's a weird girl.
She's so fucking weird.
Good for her.
Oh, and they also ask her why her character never wears shoes, and she just says it's to give her a sense of her ethereal nature. It was a character choice.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I feel like Mia Goth in shoes would just be weird. I feel like even when she's wearing shoes, she feels shoeless.
Yes, she feels like
Yeah.
she just floats.
Yeah, she does.
So when the movie opens, it has this theme that gets played a few times. A lot of times when her character appears, and there's this singing where it goes la 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 la, and I was trying to think, I'm like, is that her? Did they have her? Because it could totally be her. I couldn't find either way if that was her singing or not.
Yeah, and it's weird because they'll play it in a way that makes you think that she's singing it, and then there is a part where the main character asks her like where she learned that song, but I don't know if you ever as the audience see her singing it. It's very bizarre. It really
that's
sets up.
true.
I could have missed it, I don't know, but it was like at this point where I was like, okay, I'm into something.
Yeah, the movie's, I would say, a slow boil. It kind of goes for it. It's got a vibe that I really like, though. I don't know. This is a movie I like to just sink into. And then it goes from 0 to 100 very quickly at the climax.
Yes. I wish, before we really get into it, I'll just say, like, I wish that this had been like a mini series. I think it would have been so good. Because I honestly would have loved to see more. Like, I don't think the movie should have been as long as it was, because I don't think movies should be that long. I wish it had like another hour or two and been made a mini series.
Honestly, that would be really good.
Yeah. Bring it back.
Bring it back. Make Mia Goth the crazy doctor.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into the movie. It starts with Dane DeHaan, who is Lockhart. He's a finance person. I never understand what finance people do in real life, much less in movies.
Find out his first name?
I don't think so. All the things I read for like looking up the cast and stuff just called him Lockhart.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's probably, again, like you said, them trying to be really, I feel like they're trying to be deep about like capitalism and people working, devoting their whole lives to their miserable jobs.
Yeah.
But it just comes across as cartoonish.
It does. Yeah. But it's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is when he's on the train and he's like typing into a spreadsheet ferociously, and a guy comes up to like collect his ticket and he goes like, business or pleasure? And he looks up and he goes, are you fucking kidding me? I knew. I was like, this is my favorite character.
Yes, he's busy and unlikable right off the bat.
Exactly.
He establishes that quickly. And then
Yeah.
there's the scene before that. So he's being sent to this health spa in the Swiss Alps because some high-powered executive has gone and has not returned. And then there's some stuff about the company maybe being sued. I didn't understand and I didn't care.
Yeah.
But there's one point where, with no transition, the one female executive says, "You ever have a 10-inch black dick in your ass?"
It was really funny because like I had kind of put this movie on a little bit in the background. Like I was like, I'm gonna, do something else. And then just out of nowhere that line comes and I was like, whoops, I gotta pay attention.
Yes. It's so out of left field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same. I'm like the dog. Like my ears just perk up and I look.
So out of pocket.
Yes. And because she's saying, you're gonna go to jail and you're gonna get, raped by a black man. It's very very, very sensitive joke.
Yes.
But so yeah, he takes the train, he types on his spreadsheet. He gets there to get this guy back, Pembroke,
yeah.
and they won't let him see him, and he's met with all this resistance, and so he decides just to leave. As he's leaving, we see Mia Goth on top of this place. It looks like this old castle at times.
Yes.
There are these like Sound of Music style rolling grounds, and there's literal ramparts. Over the ramparts, we watch Mia Goth gleaming up above. Yes, she's my new national anthem.
Yeah.
But on the way out of the facility, he's involved in this car accident, and then the deer jumps out, and they hit the deer, and then we have to watch this CG deer die for like 2 minutes.
I was like, I would be a lot more upset if this wasn't so obviously CGI. Like it's very bad CGI, and like
yes,
I was like, this would be a lot more upsetting to me if there's
it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
And so he ends up waking up at the Volmer Sanitarium. Supposedly 3 days later, he has his leg in a plaster cast. And we're like 15 minutes into this movie. He's going to have these crutches for the next, I think, like 2 hours. Like he is on crutches for the vast majority of this movie.
Yeah.
And so now that he's stuck there, he's going to try to find Pembroke. He starts uncovering all the weird secrets at the sanitarium.
Yeah.
It has this kind of Kellogg, like the guy who invented cornflakes, Kellogg, used to do the sanitarium in the US and give people yogurt enemas and all these things all the time. So it has that kind of vibe to it.
Yes. It's like if this was real and around right now, like Gwyneth Paltrow would be there. It's very goop.
Oh, she so would. This is very goop. They're all getting weird massages and drinking this water that may or may not have little parasites in it.
Yep.
The movie does a lot of, is he hallucinating or is he seeing things that are real? And he meets a few people. So he meets Victoria Watkins. That's Bridget Jones's mummy. And she is one of the patients. Most of the people there are old. They've been there a while. They don't seem to be getting any better. And she tells him that this place was built on the ruins of a castle, and tells him this whole story about how he wanted to keep the family pureblood. So he married his sister and ended up somehow getting her pregnant, I think.
Yeah.
And then they burned her at the stake, but managed to cut the baby out of her right before she was burned. There's all this backstory.
Yeah, there's a lot of like exposition dump. You know, I love that there is a scene where, what's her name? So Sarah is the woman's name?
Victoria.
I don't know where I got Sarah from. I'm so sorry. Where Dane DeHaan is just standing in the courtyard, like looking at something, and she comes up and literally just starts exposition dumping. I love it. Just absolutely no regard for the audience. Just like they don't need any setup. They don't need any like Any easing into this, he's just like looking at the thing in the middle of the courtyard, and she goes up and goes, "So this used to be this." Great, amazing, perfect.
He's like, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why I always forget these details each time I
Yeah.
rewatch it. I'm like,
Right.
oh, wait, what's happening here? I forget these
Yeah.
parts.
Oh, it's so good.
So he also meets Hannah. So that's Mia
Mhm.
Goth. She talks in her Mia Goth high baby voice
Yeah.
and occasionally takes this little dropper from a
Yep.
bottle and like puts it on her tongue.
Yep.
And you get the feeling she's never left, and we'll learn she's never left.
Yes.
But there's at least one or two great scenes though where there's like this circular reflecting pool and
Mm.
she's walking barefoot around the edge of the pool and her reflection is so nicely framed in the
Yeah.
water. The reflection and the cinematography in this movie I find really striking.
Yeah. There's a lot of really, I mean, the water is obviously like an integral part of the movie. So, like you said, a lot of good reflections there, a lot of glass windows, just really beautiful movie.
The set design is great, and
Hmm.
that's what kept me watching the first time because I'm like, this movie's kind of dumb, but
Yeah.
I'm really compelled by it. I was compelled by, as we said, Dane DeHaan's performance.
Yep.
I was compelled by Mia Goth's cuckoo bananas weirdness because I'd never seen
Yep.
her before, and then the cinematography. That was like the holy trifecta that kept me
Yes.
engaged
Yeah.
in this
That's all you
movie.
need. Yeah.
And then shit immediately starts getting weird.
Hmm.
So they decide to start administering this mysterious cure to Dane DeHaan. Volmer does. They put
Hmm.
him in this water tank, and you again, this is where you don't know is he sees these eels swimming around the bottom, and
Yeah.
you're not sure if they're there or if he's seeing them, and he gets somehow locked in there, and his I don't know if he has oxygen, but it gets detached
Yeah.
because the doctor is too busy masturbating in front of a nurse.
Yeah. Very bizarre. Very strange. And like, have you ever done a sensory deprivation tank?
The thought of it scares me.
My brother loves them. I think I would have a panic attack if I was ever put in one.
Mhm.
So yeah, this scene really freaked me out.
I'm really curious to try, but I feel the same way. I don't know how I would react.
Yeah. I think I am too much of a millennial. I need to have sensory overload at all times to keep my anxiety at bay. I do not want to be without my sensations.
Yeah, I since I can't visualize anything, I feel like if I
Mm,
was in a tube in the dark, like that's all I would have.
yeah, it'd just be
And I
too.
think I would get very claustrophobic.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do it. And so kudos to Dane DeHaan for doing that.
Allegedly, this scene took 2 weeks for
Oh,
them to film.
oh my God.
I think he had a little like oxygen
Yeah,
thing up his nose, but the
yeah.
way even so, I wouldn't even want to tube up my nose. I don't want to be
No,
underwater. Like this is if I were an actor and was offered this part, I'd be like, I have to do what? Like, I'm sorry,
it
I
can't.
can't do that.
I can't. Even if the eels aren't real, which I'm sure they weren't, like, no. I don't want
Right.
to thrash around in water. I just don't.
No, the way he drowns is really, really horrifying.
Yeah.
There's a scene later on where he's choking as well, and that type of choking or drowning always gets to me in a movie.
Yeah. I don't know what it was about this movie, and I'm sure I'll be able to like speak more on it at another point, but like I had trouble sleeping after watching this movie. I think this movie
Mm.
gave me I think it was like the anxiety of it or something.
Mm.
I've never ever had a movie like keep me from sleeping this bad.
Wow, I
Yeah.
kinda love that.
I know. It was like kind of a fun experience. I was annoyed at the time, but I was like, "Ooh, what did
It
this
does
do to
worm
me?"
Yeah, it does worm its way into your
Yeah.
brain. I remember I watched it the first time I watched it, I was kinda like, "That was interesting," and then I moved on with my life, but then
Yeah.
I just kept thinking about it.
Right. Yeah. I think there's just, maybe it's that's the vibe. That's what they wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want this fucked up, like, it's gonna fuck with you vibe.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
And this movie, and again, we'll get to it. It gets more fucked up than I remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it goes. So eventually, like, he decides he's gonna leave town and try to figure out more about what's going on here. So Mia Goth, even though she's never left this place, she has a bicycle.
Got a bike.
And so they ride down to the town, and
it's very cute. She's in the front pedaling, and he has his poor bandaged a leg like sticking straight out. It's so cute.
It is really sweet. She takes control, takes him down there. They end up at this bar, and he's gonna try to find. I think he stole a file. He stole Pembroke's file.
Yeah,
and wants a doctor to help him translate it and tell him what's going on. And because he's learned that the people in the spa are all dehydrated, even though they can't stop drinking this water.
Yeah, yeah.
So they show up at the bar, and he leaves Mia Goth there for some reason and goes to talk to the doctor. We get a Mia Goth dance scene.
Love it. She's very good at dancing.
She lets her little freak out and starts dancing around all weirdly.
Yeah.
And he comes back, and there's kind of these thugs that she's dancing with, and
they're like punks.
Yeah, and they get in a fight with Dane DeHaan and start beating him up, but the doctor shows up, Dr. Vollmer. We haven't really talked much about him, but he's the creator, owner, in charge of this spa, and he's Hannah's father.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's the one who sometimes puts the little drops on her tongue, her vitamins. My vitamins.
Yes, her vitamins.
She should say vitamins. My vitamins.
Vitamins would be much cuter.
Yes. So he brings them back to the sanitarium, and that's where we get the eel dreams. He has these dreams of eels, including her looking very sexy in the tub of eels. So sexy that whenever I feel like every review I looked up of this movie, every article about it has a shot of Mia Goth in the tub of eels. Like, that is the iconic shot of this movie.
It really is. It's everywhere. I can't believe that billboard.
Honestly, like this, that's a really good visual image for her entire career, I think. Is just sexy and naked in a tub of eels.
Yes. Like sexy but weird.
Sexy but weird. Yes. Yeah. Love her. And I love eating eels. So, I love sushi. I love eel sushi. It's my favorite sushi. So
interesting.
Two of my favorite things, Mia Goth and eels. And I love baths. 3 of my favorite things.
Oh my God.
Put me in that tub.
A tattoo of this on your back.
I want a shower curtain. I want the shower curtain to be Mia Goth in the
yes. Oh my God, that'd be so good.
Well, see, can you custom print shower curtains? That should be a thing.
I'm sure you can.
Right? You can print anything these days. But so he also has some dreams of his teeth falling out, which because of the water is making his teeth fall out. But that'll come in handy later. But that one's really gross because he wiggles it and pulls his tooth out.
Yeah, and it's like the whole root. It's so it's nasty.
It's really gross. And as you said earlier, there are lots and lots of practical effects in this movie. The effects are really good. Do you ever dream of your teeth falling out?
I can't say I have. I know it's a pretty popular dream. Have you?
That was one of my most common anxiety dreams.
Really?
When I had them very frequently. I had 2. One was my teeth would fall out, which I think is a sign of vanity, is what
really
dream interpreters say. Yes. And then the other one is I'm in the car and the brakes don't work.
Interesting.
That's a common one.
My dreams don't have enough. I literally just had a dream the other day that my sister-in-law had a baby and we all loved the baby, and then she told my brother that she was going to leave him and that the baby wasn't his. And this whole time in my dream, I can't see the baby. And my brother went, "Of course I know the baby's not mine." And in my dream, the camera of my dream panned over and the baby was black. And
Stop it.
Both my brother and sister-in-law are very white. So like I feel like I don't have like
Your dreams are like a
have,
bad sitcom skit.
yeah. I don't have like fun psychology dreams. Like I have very and then I think we've talked about it before on the podcast. One of my common dreams, especially when I was younger, I don't have it as much now, is that my like hands and like my like hands and my face and my feet all like blow up and get really huge. So like I don't know. Maybe I need to go to this wellness retreat. I think
Yeah. Your
there's
dreams
something
are like
buried in
bad
there.
Tubi movies.
That's exactly it.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I need to start a dream diary because yeah, they do get weird. But yeah, I don't have any fun. I mean, I guess I don't want my teeth falling out, but you
It's a
know.
little stressful because a lot of times it's one of the dreams. Sometimes you know you're dreaming, or at least sometimes I know
Yeah,
I'm dreaming. But with those, I never know it. They always feel very real in the moment.
yeah, yeah.
I used to keep a dream diary because I used to have very, very vivid, weird dreams. Mostly,
Mm.
I think, because I just watched TV all the time. And so I would dream of different TV characters. Like I remember dreaming of like going to take out the trash and like Ellen DeGeneres was living in the trash can and like
Where she belongs.
yeah. Now looking back, it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Your
was onto
subconscious
something.
knew. Yeah.
Yes. But and I only know that because yeah, I kept them and then I like downloaded them as a text file. And then I was looking for something else. This was in my online journal that I would
Yeah.
keep. And I was looking for something else and I found my dreams and then I would just like control F dream and I like read all of my weird dreams from like
Yeah.
2006 to like 2008. Very
Ooh.
rich dream lore in my life.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
And they were almost all about TV or TV commercials, like
That's so
getting
funny.
all mixed up in my head.
Yeah, that feels like I feel like you could like release like a book of essays on that. Like that feels very like mid noughties kind of
God, maybe I will. Because yeah, I
culture.
just gotten TiVo, so TV was a big deal. Just it was
Yeah.
early days of just like on demand television.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Stay tuned, ghosties. Buy my book in 3 years about my dreams. So so anyway, so Lockhart's having these dreams, and he ends up, squeaking around the hallway again on his squeaky crutch.
It's so good.
He goes down to the transfusion Fleugel of the spa. They all are different Fleugels. It's like this
Foibles.
Fleugel and this Fleugel. And
It's
so I
like
had
you
to
got
look up.
lost in IKEA.
No, yeah, yes. So it just means wing. Like
Yeah,
I'm surprised IKEA doesn't have Fleugels, to be honest.
foibles.
But this gives me a lot of Silent Hill vibes. Do you ever play those
Mm.
video games?
Okay, I haven't, but you know what's weird is I love watching YouTube video playthroughs of them. So it's
Mm.
like I've played all of them. I'm obsessed. So anyways,
Honestly,
go ahead.
probably more enjoyable than playing it. They're not the most fun games to play, but
Yeah.
experiencing them is a treat.
Yes.
And a lot of those games take place in hospitals that have these
Yes.
low ceilings, and so this
Yeah.
was giving me the very Silent Hill vibe.
It's like very claustrophobic.
Yes, and the lighting is off.
Yeah.
And so he finds the transfusion room where all these
Yes.
people are in these little like vertical cylinders filled with some sort of fluid. They're all floating there, and Pembroke is in one of them,
Mhm.
and clearly he's not supposed to be there, and the orderlies catch him and drag him back. This is where we get the intense tooth drilling scene,
Yeah. Which
which
also the dentist has again, you don't technically know if he's hallucinating because it does move at one point, but I have to imagine the actual thing. Either way, hallucination or not, the dentist has a huge jar of teeth, and it's like, could
I
you
didn't even
imagine?
notice that.
Could you imagine going to your dentist office? Like, it's bad enough that they have those fake teeth, could you imagine they keep the teeth they pull in a jar? I would do that if I was a dentist, but I would have the decency to put it out of eyesight of my patients.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't
So
notice
creepy.
that.
Yeah, because then there's like a part where he looks at it and it looks like there's almost something in the middle of it that like shifts. So then the teeth like shift.
Okay.
Ugh, it's icky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think just when they drill it, they drill directly into one of his front teeth, just
Yeah.
right in the middle of it. The tooth
Oh,
starts bleeding, and I'm like, do teeth bleed? Like, I don't know enough
yeah.
about teeth to know what would happen if you do this.
I think they
And
do.
it's so
Oh,
awful.
yeah. Yeah. And again, like they have, obviously they're not drilling into his tooth, but I mean, the poor Dane DeHaan is in this contraption that, like, it looks like the bear trap from Saw. Like, that's
Yes.
like the thing
Or
in his cheeks.
or one of
Yeah.
those things, there's that game that you can play where you put that in and you try to say words and people guess what you're
Oh,
saying.
yes. Yeah. They should have just done that. Um,
Yes.
yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah, he really gets run through the ringer in this, which is
Yeah.
again really impressive. I think he does a great
Yes.
job. And yeah, then we know at least the tooth part was real because he doesn't have a tooth now for
Yeah.
like a lot of the movie. So
Yeah.
he's on a crutch. He's
He's
he's got
missing a tooth.
missing a tooth. They put him in this iron lung with
Yeah.
all of the other patients. For a while, I used to want to be in an iron lung. Like, I
Hmm.
used to think that would be kind of relaxing.
Yeah. Does it
Like,
help you breathe?
I think so. I know it was for people with polio. I don't know what polio does to you, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's like, it just like squeezes you, I think, and like,
Oh.
like it turns you into a
Oh.
little like bellows.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weighted blanket, but even more intense.
That's probably why I thought it would be cool.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably why we as a society are so into weighted blankets now. Fuck weighted blankets, bring back iron lungs.
Bring back the iron lung. Like, I just want one in my apartment. I'll just crawl into it after a stressful day. It sounds great.
Yeah, can
Um,
we get one on Amazon?
oh, I'm so curious.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's got to be some old medical equipment, that we could just repurpose pretty easily.
absolutely.
Um, this one is not as cozy as like,
No.
having polio in the 20s would be because they they put this tube down his throat, which is
Oh,
another like how much of this is actually going in his mouth? Like it
I
just looks
know.
so real.
Oh,
And it's this huge tube. I mean, the thing is probably like 3 inches in diameter.
yeah.
They're putting it into his throat, and then they and by they I mean Jason Isaacs Volmer, and
Mhm.
he's feeding the eels down this tube into his stomach.
Ooh,
Ah!
God. Ooh,
It's
I
so
hate the idea.
gross. And there's more exposition in this because you find out that the cure is this like the eels don't die or something.
Yeah, the
And
eels
so
really are not necessary to the story, like, at all. But I feel like they were like, "We need to make it gross, we need to make it weird."
mhm.
Like, eels, eel it
You
up.
don't see a lot of eels in movies.
No, I don't even know, like, for the longest time, I thought electric eels were fake. I thought they were not real.
Mm.
Like, I have no idea where eels live. I don't think they're native to Europe.
No,
Correct me
I
if I'm
would
wrong.
just my love of sushi makes me think they're just a Japanese, like, Pacific
Yeah,
Ocean thing.
yeah, and then I think maybe, like, Southeast Asia too, like, I
Mhm.
kinda could visual but I don't believe which again, I mean, I guess that's, like, kind of the point is that it's weird that they're there. Anyways, they have really no reason for them, but I love that they're there.
Yeah, it
Kudos.
gets into the convoluted nature of this. They need to
Mhm.
distill water through humans and then
Yeah,
but also through the eels. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't matter.
yeah.
So the cure though is mostly just taken by Volmer and it's in the vitamins that they're giving
Vitamins.
to Hannah to kind of keep them alive
Mm-hmm.
forever. Okay, so Lockhart suspects that he's not actually injured, so he cuts the cast off his leg
Yeah.
and is able to start walking around again. But they capture him again? They start doing more treatments to him and
Yeah, this part, it gets a little bit. The scenes kind of get messed up in my head because there is a part where he kind of like just lets it start happening, like he's like cool with it.
yes. Yeah,
It,
he buys into it. He gets
yeah,
brainwashed
but
into it.
you know what? I think that might be before he cuts the cast off because I, I remember. So, have you ever broken a bone?
I've only cracked a bone in my foot, but it didn't fully break, and so I didn't have a cast.
Okay, so I had a cast on my arm in first grade. I think I broke my arm. And I vividly remember that the worst part was when I took a shower, I had to put a garbage bag over my arm and hold it outside of the shower curtain. So when I saw him floating in that tank with his big ass cast, I knew. I knew something was up. I was like,
Ooh, look
there's
at
no
you.
way those medical professionals care. And I was also just a little bit annoyed because I was like, you're telling me I had my arm out in a, it was market basket bags all the way down and then a big trash bag across the whole thing. And I had to hold it outside of the shower curtain. It was so annoying. I couldn't go swimming. It was awful.
Uh,
It was awful. Also, my cast stunk when I took it off. So I
what did it
imagine his
smell
room
like?
just like gross. Like, I mean, I was in first grade, so I wasn't like super sweaty or anything, but it was like,
Yeah.
it was, it was fleshy.
Ew.
I think it's still in a hope chest somewhere. I could go try to find it.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, take a
Yeah, but
sniff, see if it still
anyways,
smells.
his room was probably stanky. But anyways, so yeah, I think he kind of is like going through the motions of getting the treatments and then
Mhm.
something. Oh, doesn't Hannah like give him the because there's a whole nother plot point we never even talked about, which is his mother.
Yes, I
Yeah,
kind of skipped over that because again, it doesn't
it
really amount
doesn't.
to anything.
Yeah, the only thing that really comes of it is he at some point gives Hannah this little ballerina figurine that his mother makes, um, and then she gives it back to him, which sort of like snaps him out of it.
Breaks the spell.
It
Yes,
breaks the
because
spell.
she makes the ballerina figure, which is maybe was on a music box, or maybe that's why she made it. And he
Yeah,
says, "Why are her eyes closed?" And the mom
yeah,
says, "Because she's dreaming, but she doesn't know she's asleep," or something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very good.
And yeah, and there is a really good scene though where the mom is making the ballerina and her eye is really big in this magnifying glass as she's
Yeah,
painting it. That was a good
yeah.
shot.
I like that. I like the mom character a lot. Actually, she was very cynical. I love that. She's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you put me in this place to die," which kind of foreshadows everything. But again,
Right.
just like okay,
Right, it's another part of that. I don't even want to say it's a theme,
yeah,
but he's so focused on his career that he can't care for his mother and
right,
maybe he feels guilty. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, so he snaps out of it. He cuts off the cast. He's
And at some
cranky.
point in all this, they also fix his teeth, but now he has just these big, like Bugs Bunny teeth.
Yes, which as someone who has a veneer on one of her front teeth, um, I can relate. I will say when so I don't have you gotten a veneer? Are you
No.
aware of the veneer process? So before you get your official veneer, they put like a temporary one on you. And that was the worst I've ever felt in my life was when I had this temporary veneer and it reminded me of his weird teeth in this part where it's just like so obviously fake or I don't know really
Mhm.
what they were going for, but um yeah, it's he's got his teeth back. Good for him. Looks
They're
like
2
temporary.
shades too white. Yeah, they're 2
Yes.
shades too white. They're big,
Yep.
and it creates this really uncanny valley
Mm.
feeling in a nice way.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just the right size to be creepy.
Yes.
And so he investigates. He snaps out of it. None of this really makes sense. It's probably why I
No.
kind of glossed over it. He goes into Volmer's office and finds this picture of him from God knows how long ago, a long time ago, and
Yeah.
like smashes it because then there's like little like photoshopped Mia Goth off to the
Yeah.
side, even though
I
it's from like the
love this trope.
1920s.
Yeah. I love the trope of the bad guy being so bad at hiding that he like folds a photo over. Like that's my favorite trope.
Yeah, so he learns they've been alive for like 100 years or
Yeah,
something,
right.
and I don't know how we eventually figure this out, to be honest, but she is the daughter. So he's the Baron. So
Yeah.
she's the incestuous daughter of the sister that he
Yes.
impregnated. And now he wants to impregnate her to
Yeah.
keep the bloodline alive. So we've
Yeah.
gone full on like crazy incest plot line here at the end.
Yes.
Volmer, so she also begins menstruating.
Yeah.
And for a brief second, it turns into this like, I don't know, young woman's coming of age story for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's bizarre. She goes into the pool, she starts menstruating into the water, and the eels start
Oh, the
creating a
eels,
little
yes.
vortex. It's again just so bizarre, and like I'm just watching it like, where the fuck is this going? And spoiler, it kind of goes nowhere. Like I
Yeah.
don't it's so weird. Anyways, go on after.
Yeah. So now that she's menstruating and she's, because who knows how long she's been this age,
Yeah.
they go through this kind of like little ceremony where he kind of marries her,
Yeah.
and then he takes her into this Phantom of the Opera
Oh
style
my god.
basement.
Yeah, the very little like research I sort of did for this movie was um someone said that, pointed out about how, oh, because actually I don't know if I ever have gotten to talk about him on the podcast, but there's a YouTuber I really like called Ryan Hollinger, and he actually covered this movie a good while back, and I didn't
Oh,
watch it because I knew I wanted to watch it at some point. So I finally watched that, and he kind of just does like a plot breakdown. Like he does some analyzing, but one of the things he brought up was how, you could tell that this movie was really inspired by like the Hammer horror movies, and like, I mean, you can really tell here at the end, like it's very like, who's the famous like Hammer actor, like, the original Frankenstein, like,
is it Lon Chaney? Was he Hammer or
I don't remember. I'm
Christopher
thinking,
Lee?
yeah, maybe. But anyways, very, spooky.
There's
Hmm.
candlelight. It's a
Yes.
crypt. It's
Yep.
cavernous. There's a dock and some
Yes.
water.
Yeah. Right.
Not even
Actually,
quite sure how they get down there.
it looks like the penguin's lair.
It does, but like warmer, a little
Yes.
warmer.
Yeah, definitely.
And all the nurses and orderlies are having this post-wedding dance
Hmm.
party
Yep.
upstairs, or their ballroom dance, and
Yes.
they're twirling around in these white gowns and
Hmm.
suits. And down in this crypt, Volmer's decided he's basically going to rape his daughter. It
Yeah.
gets very rapey.
It's
I
ugh.
forget just how rapey this movie gets, especially
Yeah.
for like a major studio release
Yeah.
movie.
Right. And like, obviously rapey is bad, but then compounded with incestuous rapey, and like not even like trying to like hide it, or like make excuses for it. Like that is her father. Like it's ugh,
Yes, it's her
gross.
dad. He also like feels her and then smells his own fingers.
Oh my god, I forgot about that part. Oh, I
I
audibly went like,
could not believe
ooh,
that happened.
oh. They made the father of Draco Malfoy,
Lucious Malfoy.
Lucious Malfoy. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, it's so gross. It's so gross.
Wow. Yeah, they take it so far.
Yeah, they really do.
And on one hand, I'm like, how necessary is this? And on the other hand, I'm like, would I talk about it if it didn't happen?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it was like a letterbox review or something. Like someone made a point where it was like, I wish that this movie had ended half an hour earlier and made this like a deleted scene. And I like again, it kind of I guess almost goes with like my mini series want for it. Like I wish that this was sort of like a secret bonus. Like
Mm,
not everyone needed to see that,
right.
Yeah, it's so icky.
I picture people going to see this movie made by the guy who made Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, oh, he's making this horror movie. Let's go see it. And then like
Yeah.
this shit happens at the end.
And like also like keep in mind that like this shit happens at the end and it's already been a batshit movie.
I
So they're
know.
like what the fuck is going
The
on?
fuck is going on? And then since he's actually been alive for like 200
Oh
years,
my god.
I forget exactly what happens. There's a struggle. Dane DeHaan shows up
Yeah.
and they end up ripping his face off
Yeah.
and he's all just goop underneath.
Well, and because like it's implied too that I think he's covered in burns from the first time because again another plot point is
Oh,
the
yeah.
castle burns down, and in the picture where he's holding little Mia Goth, he's like the Invisible Man. He's all bandaged up,
That's right.
and there's another scene where Dane DeHaan finds faces like in petri glasses.
I
Do you
forgot
remember?
about that part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
he's
he's like
like
grown these
harvesting
faces.
faces too. And I mean, like, also, like, this is literally the end of the first Captain America movie. I know you haven't seen like any
Oh.
Marvel movies, but like literally at the end of the movie, it's what's his face from the Matrix rips off his face and he's Red Skull. Like
Oh.
it's just and it kind of is a Marvel movie at the end because they get into like some serious fist fighting. Basically, Dane DeHaan's character has, I think it's like at the beginning of the fight, because he has like kerosene or gasoline or whatever on the
Mm-hmm.
ground. He flips a lighter that he finds at some point to start. And I think it might be at the beginning of the fight, but I don't really remember because then at one point, it's actually kind of a cool scene, I guess, if you want to call it that. The doctor is twirling around on fire and the camera keeps cutting to the people dancing upstairs twirling around.
Because
Then like
the embers are going upstairs too
yes,
through the air vents and setting the curtains on fire.
yeah, and like also like okay, this is my biggest problem with this movie. You're telling me they don't have sprinklers? This place that is obsessed with water and has burned down before, and they didn't install sprinklers?
They're trying to preserve the classic architecture.
I guess. Oh my god, I literally was like, what the fuck? And I think there's only one fire extinguisher. Anyways,
This place is a fire trap.
this is a fire trap. They honestly should have learned. I do not feel bad for them. But the doctor is spinning around on fire, but he gets put out somehow. So then him and Lockhart are fighting, and then it seems like he's about to shove Lockhart in the water with all the eels to eat
The
him.
eels.
And Mia Goth comes up and she has like a sword. Like she has something like really intense. It might be a sword, whatever. And kills her father, and he falls in, and the eels eat him.
The eels eat him. That's right.
Yeah.
Little turnabout there. Yeah.
Just and somehow they get out of this extremely burning building cave thing.
Basically, all the nurses, all the orderlies, they burn up in this fire. We're presumed the patients, like they all run out. There's all this chaos.
Yeah.
They get on her little bike and they start riding down the mountain.
Can I just tell you, I think this might be my favorite scene ever. Because this whole movie has been weird and gross and icky and dark, and then they ride away on their bike and it is literally like the end of like a Sandra Bullock rom-com. Like they are just having the time of their lives, just, and then they run into the old board of directors show up in the Swiss Alps, and they get out of the car and they're like, come on, you're coming home with us. And he's like, no. And one of them says like, are you not in your right head or something? And Dane DeHaan goes, actually, I'm feeling fine. And then he just gets on the bike with Mia Goth and they just keep riding. And it ends with him doing this really creepy smile. Like,
yes. And the camera kind of almost like freeze frames on them as they're like biking down the hill. It's like the end of the third Harry Potter movie when Harry Potter like flies up into the sky and then it ends on this like freeze frame of him on the broom.
Yeah. It literally feels like the end of like a Princess Diaries movie. Like,
yeah.
It's like so creepy. I love it. It's so good.
And that's it.
That's it. Curtains.
Yeah. People stagger out of the theater being like, what the fuck did we just see? And then they tell their friends not to see it, and that's why it doesn't make any money.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to end up doing it because it ended up being a lot more money than I thought it was going to be. But I was thinking about renting a theater and making people come and watch one of my favorite movies. And now I kind of want to just force everyone in my life to sit down in a dark theater and watch this 2.5-hour movie. I need to know like everyone's opinion on this movie. I feel like it is such a good gauge of what a person is like.
That's true. The person, so I saw this movie because I was dating someone who really liked this movie. And so we watched it together and I was like, oh, we didn't have much to talk about, but he was very hot and I did like his taste in movies.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, so I'm always weirdly nostalgic for this movie for that reason.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So, so I can't wait. I can't wait for you to report back, do a little survey. Okay. You can do like your own version of Cinema Score, have people rate it when they leave.
Yes. I think I'll just sign up for a dating app and just the only prompt will be watch this movie. Watch A Cure for Wellness. Tell me what you think.
Tell me what you think.
I want a 300-word essay. That's it.
And then you can publish that as a book.
Honestly. Yeah. Gore Verbinski. Let's team up.
Gregor.
Gregor.
He can do the foreword.
Yes.
The Gore word. Yeah.
Come on, G-Man.
He's doing so he hasn't done he has not done a movie since this movie.
Wow.
In 2017. He has a movie in development with Sam Rockwell.
My king.
And Juno Temple.
Oh.
Zazie Beetz, Michael Pena, and Haley Lou Richardson.
That sounds like so much fun.
It's called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, first movie in 8 years, so stay tuned. Filming is set to begin this year.
All right. Get me on there. I'll be an extra.
Mm-hmm. They're doing it in South Africa, so you'll have to travel.
Okay. That's too much. Sorry, Gore.
Another reason, it's like, you're from Tennessee. Why are you filming in South Africa? Right? What's happening?
Oh my God. He should do like a Tennessee, like an Appalachian kind of movie.
Sure. It can be just as creepy, honestly, if not more so.
Right? I feel like
going
that's
for
like the big trend right now. Like, come on.
Yeah.
He's just trying to hold up the, the perception that he's European.
He's European.
Well,
it worked. It worked for a long time.
Yeah, but we see you, Greg.
Justin.
Greg, Justin.
All right, we'll take a little break and then we'll come back with our Gothic roundup and we'll decide, is it Gothic? All right, Ghosties, we're back with our Gothic roundup. All Gothic films have 4 elements: Mia Goth, a guy, a house, and a haunt. And so our girl, you could make a case, I think, for both Hannah and Lockhart being the
Yeah.
quote unquote girl in this.
Yeah, you could. You could make a case for Pembroke. You could make a case
Little
for
Pembroke.
poor Pemmy. For
Bridget's mom.
Elizabeth? Sarah? Whichever her name
Victoria.
is. Victoria. Oh my god. I really thought it was
You're getting all the other Victorian names.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Elizabeth,
yeah.
Jane.
Yeah. Charlotte, Catherine. Yeah, but yeah, so they're, a lot of trapped people.
Trapped
Lured.
by a guy who's lured them in.
Yeah.
The promise of a cure. And he's not what he appears to be.
Right. Yeah. They're running away from capitalism. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. We don't know. We really don't understand why anyone else is there other than they're old.
Right.
But yeah,
the
Dane DeHaan character, it's kind of a vacation.
I would go for a vacation. That place looks nice. And I love water. If it was just carbonated water, oh my god.
Like a sparkling water spring.
If Polar
like a
ever
Perrier.
opens, yeah, if Polar ever opens in
the Polar Spa,
like in Worcester, just like the Polar Sanatorium, and it's just I'll be there, heartbeat. Take what you want from me. Take my life force or whatever.
In the place where the big bear sits on top.
Yes. The iron lung is just a big can.
Oh my god, put me in a polar can. I would love that. Just my head sticking out. Like, that would be great.
Perfect.
Oh, that's my new dream.
Yeah. We'll have to, okay, Polar, let us know.
Make
we'll do
it happen. We can be little influencers. Yeah, that can be our viral stunt.
Oh my god, that'd be so cute. Anyway, so
I would love that.
I do kind of understand why these people would go, and then them staying, it's like implied it's brainwashing or whatever. But I don't think it's too hard to get their feet in the door.
Right, exactly. It seems really, and they all have such crisp white clothing, and the scenery's beautiful.
Right. So nice.
And they shot part of this film at an actual German castle. Me trying to say German. Hohenzollern Castle. Hohenzollern.
That sounds good.
And the set designer said that they chose it because it gave the impression of being a sort of sanctuary from modern life, instead of looking initially frightening like a lot of German castles.
I mean, yeah, it's not spooky, like, you get into more of like the medical areas of it with, we were talking about the claustrophobic and everything.
Right.
But
that's the creepy part.
The scenery it's beautiful. It's, their rooms look nice. There's some issues with the plumbing, but that's okay. It's an old castle.
Right. His toilet handle does a lot of jiggling throughout the movie.
I think that it's like that aspect actually might have been the thing that gave me the most anxiety. I have a real fear of things being in my toilet. So if there was an eel in my toilet, I'm never going to the bathroom again. I'm never doing it.
I lived in an apartment once where one of my friend's brothers had lived in the same apartment previously. And when he was living there, a snake came up through the toilet.
No. Absolutely not.
I did think about that almost every single time I used the bathroom.
Oh my god. Whenever I have to use like an outhouse, that is always my greatest fear, is that a snake is going to come up and bite me. Anyways, I think that might have been what gave me night terrors.
The toilet stuff is a little unsettling. And then in this apartment, when the mail person had to come and deliver a package to my door, and they said, Is this the apartment where the snake came out of the toilet?
Wow. News
I
gets around.
said, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Oh my god. Also, side note, just because we didn't get to talk about it earlier, I guess it kind of has to do with the place a little bit. The part with the toilet, Dane DeHaan literally rips the toilet out of the wall, and it's like the funniest thing I think I've ever seen. I don't know why it was so funny to me that this man was just able to rip the toilet. It was very, very funny to me.
And he's still in his cast, and the water is spraying all over the place, and he's falling over.
I don't know why. That scene was maybe my favorite scene, actually. It's tied between the end and that one, or the one where Mia Goth does get to punch Dane DeHaan at one point. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that
Yeah.
part.
There's like, total side note now, off of place, but there's a lot of things in this movie that we didn't have time to go over, and I highly recommend that people go and watch it because there's a lot of insanity.
I agree. We couldn't talk about everything in this 2.5 hour long movie.
Yeah.
One thing that I did want to briefly mention are some of the special features on the DVD, which are not good. Or they're not of substance. I really wanted a commentary or something that would talk about how fucked up this movie was. But there's one that just says meditations, and you click on it, and I think it says like meditation on water, meditation on air, meditation on earth, or something. And so you click on one of them. And so, for example, meditation on water, it's just a screen of like Mia Goth floating in the water and like spinning, which they show for maybe like 2 seconds in like a like one of those flashes they do.
Right.
But you just sit there and you watch her spin in the water while this guy does kind of like a meditation voiceover. Imagine that you're in the water, and he's talking, and they start off very serene and then they get progressively more morbid as they go. So it's like, take a deep breath and accept the water into your lungs, knowing that this will be the last breath that you take. And
oh my god.
The meditation on air, you imagine floating through the air, and then he asks you to imagine falling and hitting the ground and dying. And then the meditation on earth, I think you've been buried alive.
Oh
and
my
so
god.
they're weirdly relaxing.
Yeah. My mom listens to guided meditations every single night to help her fall asleep.
You should splice one of these in.
Yes, I kind of want to.
Find the audio track online and upload it to the Calm app or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it was just, I'm like, who thought of this? Why is this on this DVD? It was so strange.
Wild.
But I kind of liked them. I did. The guy, whoever does the voiceover, was very relaxing.
Yeah, maybe he's on the Calm app now.
He should be.
Yeah, that's where his career went. Anyway.
So last but not least, we have our haunt. We don't really have much of a haunt in this one. We do have the kind of immortality of, I don't know, people trying to get immortality is a haunt in a way, this quest to live forever. And I don't know, elite Europeans trying to preserve their bloodlines.
Yeah. The motivations in this movie are not, super defined, which makes it hard to pinpoint a haunt. It's, a like 300-year-old baron with a melted off face.
Right. Who rearranged the letters in his name to come up with a new name.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we have our bonus Gothic of incest. Big one. Big incest picture, this one.
Yes. This isn't, like, oh, they're making eyes at each other. This is big time yucky. This is yucky.
And it being the driving force makes it even more unsettling.
Yeah. It's not good.
And I don't know if we have any other bonus Gothics. I don't think there's a Panano in this place, which is a big oversight.
Yeah, I don't think there's a Panano. Definitely no black cats. What else do we have for bonus Gothic? Romantic
Rocking.
rivals. I mean,
I mean,
almost.
kind
I
of. Yeah,
hate to
maybe
say
that's
it.
why. Yeah, he doesn't want Lockhart.
Yeah,
That's why Vollmer doesn't want Lockhart hanging out with Hannah.
yeah. Ooh. Um, but yeah, no rocking chairs, which would have been such a great thing. Having one of those creepy old people in a rocking chair would have been
On
great.
the veranda. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, no, nothing like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think though? With that in mind, we have Girl Guy House, sort of a haunt, big bonus in the realm of the categories,
Mhm.
just the size of it. What do you think? Is it Gothic?
It's like I want to say no. I No, I don't think it is. It's hard though because like I've seen a lot of like blurbs about this movie calling it like a modern Gothic movie.
Mm.
But like in my opinion, I don't think it is. I don't, I think there's a
Mm.
big difference between like Gothic and like this is very like Lovecraftian, very like
Okay,
it almost has it well, it really does have like a very science fiction feel to it. So in my
that's true.
opinion, I don't think it's Gothic. What about you?
I kind of do.
Mm,
But what you were talking about it being inspired by or looking like the Hammer horror pictures made me
mm,
think it's the style of Gothic of those, which often,
yeah,
as we learned with Frankenstein, I don't typically think are that Gothic.
right. It's
So I might settle on Goth-ish for this one
yeah,
personally.
yeah, I could see that. It's one of those Gothic movies that it just like inherently feels kind of Gothic, but you can't really pinpoint why. Um, and that's kind of, I guess, where like I'm approaching it at is like, I don't, I can't like just like pick one thing about it that I'm like, that makes it Gothic, but it does sort of have this air of like Gothicness around it.
I see what you're saying because it has a Gothic atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
but with the characters not really feeling much of anything,
Mm,
Gothic to me is about big feelings. And
yeah.
the characters, like if the Mia Goth character were the main character, it would
Mm,
definitely feel more Gothic.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Or like at least had had more of a perspective because, we kind of said it at the top. Like you really only see this movie through Lockhart. There's a
Mm-hmm.
couple of scenes, few and far between just Hannah and, the Baron or whatever, but it's
Mm.
mostly through this outsider's perspective.
And he doesn't want to be there. He just wants
Yeah.
to do his job and go home.
He just wants to get back to his spreadsheets.
Get back to his
He's
spreadsheets.
very excited about his spreadsheets. He needs to get back to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
Yeah, you
you know,
can't really be Gothic and have strong feelings about Google Sheets or Excel.
I might disagree with you there. I I like to think that I'm somewhat Gothic and I love my Google Sheets.
That's true. I do love a good spreadsheet, and the one time I spent like 4 hours on TikTok
Mm,
and really got myself into a mental health hole, there occasionally during my swiping, I would
yeah.
see lots of things that just made me feel inadequate, and then occasionally it would be like, "Did you know you could do this in Excel?" And I'd
Yes.
be like, "How can I make my entire TikTok algorithm just give me Excel
Just
tips?"
Excel.
That's the TikTok I wanna be on.
Yeah. Where's that social media?
Mhm. Because that
Lockhart
was a
needs
good
to make it.
channel, and I'd be like, "No, I didn't know I could do that on Excel," and I'd
Yeah.
rewatch it.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
If Lockhart doesn't get arrested, which by the way, they just completely dropped that subplot. Um, if he doesn't get arrested, I think you should develop that app. Just
Oh, yeah.
just TikTok for spreadsheets.
It's TikTok for spreadsheets, and it also is those morbid meditations. It's like a combo.
Yes.
Hmm.
I love it.
Those are two niches I really should explore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to explore about A Cure for Wellness?
No, I think I'm ready to head down the mountain.
Ready to have some water. All right, well, have a big drink. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Ghosties, for listening to us break down A Cure for Wellness. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts. You can also email us at sogothicpod@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram. Sometimes we post, but even if we don't, please listen, share with a friend. If you know someone who likes movies, send the podcast along. We don't always talk about creepy, gross movies. You can go through and find some of the more fun ones if this isn't your thing. But if this is your thing, we do sometimes talk about creepy, gross movies. We talk about them all.
Yeah.
So I hope you will listen to more. But until next time, stay ghosty. Boo bye.
Bye.